Okay, getting all set up here. We're going to be doing having a chiller chat episode. Let me start sharing this. Okay, getting all set up here. We're going to be doing having a chiller chat episode. Start sharing this. Okay. Share this to a couple pages here, and then we'll be starting at 8 o'clock. So I like to get on here a little early, get everything set up, and start sharing to my other pages. Feel free to share this as well if you'd like. We'll be starting at 8 o'clock, so I like to get on here a little early. Okay, we'll get it out there. Get it out there. I'll even send it to the Chiller Night group. Okay. Now I'll open up the chat so I can see what you guys are writing, if anyone's on here. There we go. Let me go back here and check this. A little technical warm-up as I'm preparing for tonight's show. Oh, Deanna says, my hands are sweating, LOL, I'm excited to be on. Oh, this will be a really good one. I'm happy to have you on here tonight, Deanna. This is really interesting. Like I've mentioned to you, never had anybody who's actually, for those who don't know, Deanna's going to be sharing her experience coming basically face to face with a Chupacabra. So I've never had. Al says hi, everyone. Hi, Al. Thanks for joining us. So that's very interesting. Okay. All right, what do we got here? We have just a few more minutes, and then we'll begin the show. I want to remind viewers, if you'd like, you're welcome to join in. You're welcome to throw out a question or a comment for the guest or for myself, preferably for the guest. I'm here every week, so ask Deanna some questions. And I think tonight's going to be a really good episode. Chupacabra. Just don't hear that much about that, when it comes to the cryptozoological creatures. But I did look this up. Adam says, "Nice blazer." Oh, thank you, Adam. This is the chiller, the official chiller blazer. I think it's a nice blue. It's a nice tone of blue, or shade of blue, I guess. Shade of blue. Seems to match everything. Ghoul World Order. Hey, happy Vampire Awareness Month. Diablo's Undead Prince of Pennsylvania. I know, we started out the month acknowledging this as due to, at least from what I read, the original Dracula in 1931 came out on February 14th, Valentine's Day, in February. Deanna says it pops the color. That's what I want to do. It's a visual flex. All right, 7:39. 7:39. We'll start promptly at 8. Okay. And it is 8 o'clock. Let's begin. Welcome everybody, this is Bryan Hogue. Welcome to another episode of Chiller Chat, the show where we talk about things ranging from horror to science fiction, the paranormal, you name it. We'll talk about it. We'll chat about it. So just tonight's guest is Deanna Marie, and she's going to be talking about the Chupacabra. She had an experience where she came face to face with the Chupacabra. So in about a minute, we're going to call her up and chat with her. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody on Thursday nights on the Chiller Night Facebook group page, join in the watch parties at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Dale Baltzer, he runs the show there, and that's on the Chiller Night Facebook group page. Make sure you join us. And then on Saturday nights, the Chiller Night live pre-show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time until 9 p.m. Okay, you can watch that on the Chiller Night Theater Facebook page and the Chiller Night Theater YouTube channel. All right. Don't forget to watch Chiller Night Theater and Chiller Chat every Saturday night beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Stream TV. All right, so here we go. Let's give Deanna a call here, and let's get this started.
Hello.
Deanna, this is Bryan. You're on Chiller Chat.
Hi, Bryan. I'm so excited. My hands are sweating. I sweat. I'm so excited to be on.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Tom Gross says, "Hey everyone." Hey Tom. All right.
It's like sitting in the living room with all my friends. Tom's there, George is there, you're there. Hi, guys.
Raymond says, "Bryan." Hey Raymond, thanks for joining us. Well, tonight. This is. I told you this was an interesting one because I've never had anybody on the show who has seen the Chupacabra. In fact, that's never really been a topic that we've talked about here on Chiller Chat. So it's about time we delve into that topic. Hello?
Hi, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I thought we lost you. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Now, you had an experience. Let me put your picture up here. You had an experience, Deanna, where you came face to face with the Chupacabra.
That is correct.
And for anybody who, I don't know if this is even possible, but if anybody doesn't know what a Chupacabra is, it's like a vampiric type of mysterious creature that is said to drain the blood from animals and its victims. So, what can you tell us, Deanna, about your run-in with the Chupacabra?
So, coincidentally, it was in October. It was 2 weeks into October. It was a late, I believe, Saturday or Sunday night, very early, morning, 2 a.m., and I was coming home, and I own an acre of land, and my land is pretty woodsy and dark. And so, it's really hard to see because there's not a lot of light. And again, it was 2 in the morning. So I'm coming up my stairs, and my neighbor's property smack stabs into the stairs. Their property is a hillside full of very high pine trees, very tall pine trees that grow straight up. And I'm coming up my flight of stairs, and I reached the top stair, and I felt like something touched me, like as if I'm in a bar, a crowded bar, and I'm trying to get through a crowded bar, and you bump into somebody's shoulder. It felt like I bumped into something, but it was something. It wasn't the pine tree. It was something. And so now my mind is racing, like something's here, somebody's here, I'm about to get attacked. Because it's very dark. I couldn't see. I definitely was bumping into somebody, something. And so as soon as my mind was racing as to, like, what am I going to do? What is this? To my left, it was standing diagonal in front of me, still on the neighbor's property, which is, sloping down into a hillside. It was standing there. It was taller than me. I'm 5'3". I'm going to estimate it to maybe be 6 feet tall. Just a rough estimate. But it's definitely taller than me. And my mind's racing. This thing opened its mouth, and when it opened its mouth, that's all I could see was its mouth. I couldn't see eyes. I couldn't see a body. All I could see was this mouth open up, and it was prehistoric-looking fangs. They were brown. They were dirty. It definitely, again, it was October, so some of my friends were like, oh, you sure it wasn't somebody playing a joke on you? Absolutely not. These were real fangs. They almost looked like maybe a snake's fangs, how those two are real long, but they were prehistoric looking. So you had the canine teeth, inside of its mouth that were real long, the two long ones, and then the center teeth were jaggedy and very dirty looking. And when it opened its mouth, you see these huge fangs and this venom oozing from the top of its mouth to the bottom of its mouth, and just oozing this thick, clear saliva oozing out of its mouth. Now, it hisses like a snake. And when it hissed, it went, then it didn't even take a breath. It hissed. And in the same moment, it squealed a very high-pitched pig squeal. So, it was so loud and so terrifying. I started instantly shaking. My whole body was shaking. I put my hands down on my knees and crouched down, and I screamed. I screamed really loud. I was hoping to have one of my neighbors hear me and wake up, because I didn't know what was going on. This thing, when I screamed, scared it. I scared it. And it took one step. You could hear the size of the animal or whatever it was. The step of it was so, just you could hear the step on the ground. It took one step and then two steps. So that told me it had two legs. And one and two, and it broke wind. You could hear the movement of this thing, that it was a powerful creature of some sort. And the light from the upper street, there's a street light. It peers down into the top of the neighbor's land and through the houses. When it took two steps, it disappeared. I couldn't see. It should have been running to where I had light, that I would have seen a shadow or something. It disappeared into thin air. I couldn't hear it running no more. I couldn't hear it, from what I understand, the Chupacabra can fly. I couldn't hear it do that. It disappeared into thin air. And so I was shaking. I get into my house. I call the local police department. I said, listen, you're going to think I'm nuts, but something, the Chupacabra was in my yard. The police came, they searched the yard, they had their lights out, and they said, listen, your property is very dark, it is very scary out here, you need to be safe when you're coming home. Yeah, of course. They didn't see anything. Now, the next morning, I look up that night online what it could have been. The only thing that hisses and squeals at the same time could be the Chupacabra. Now, there was another scenario that it could be Zozo, which, as some people know, is the Ouija board demon. That's the very bad demon that a lot of people contact. Zozo's grandmother hisses and squeals. But this thing was definitely, I think, the Chupacabra. It had the fangs. If you look up pictures of the Chupacabra, they have fangs. They hiss and squeal. Their legs are very muscular. And what's weird is, prior to that night in that incident, my dogs, I have 2 pit bulls, they would go into my yard, and this was going on for months. And, my son took note of it, I took note of it. My dogs would go outside around 8 o'clock in the evening, and they would bark at 3 corners of the yard. They would run towards that tree line, they would run to the top and then to the right side of my house, and they would growl and bark and stare at something that I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything. Now, what I've researched is the Chupacabra likes to prey on women and likes to stalk them. So I believe So the next morning I wake up and I go knocking on my neighbors' homes, and I asked them, did you hear me scream the night before? One neighbor said no. I go to the next neighbor, the neighbor's house where the creature was in the yard. I knocked on the door, and the guy answered the door, and he said, I believe you. And I couldn't, believe that he believed me. I was like, I think I seen the El Chupacabra in your yard, thinking he's going to think I'm nuts. It was in the tree line, in the pine trees, and it missed his will. And he goes, I believe you. My sister's husband has seen it too. But he's seen it where there's a school in our area, and he's seen it near the sewer area down there. And he said it looked rabbi-eyed and, like it had rabies or however you say it. And and he's seen it too. And then the wife even confirmed, and now these are older people. These are like in their 60s. They even confirmed, the wife even confirmed that her husband did see it. And now my neighbor goes, I believe you. And I want to tell you, there's a lot of paranormal activity that happens in this area. Now,
Deanna, can I stop you just for a moment? Some of the there's been some. Ava's asking where this was, and I can say it was in Westmoreland County. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In Pennsylvania, Westmoreland County. Okay. And I wanted to ask too, and you may have said this, but now this thing was on 2 legs, right? Not on 4.
2 legs, yeah, because of the way it moved.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear and you could feel it go 1 step, 2 steps, and it was gone. You could hear the wind. It was such a forceful thing. You could hear it break the wind when it went away from me.
Wow. So your neighbor said that he believed you.
That's correct. And he said that his sister's wife or his sister's husband seen the El Chupacabra near our area, and that there was a lot of paranormal activity that goes on here. Now, I went to Fort Ligonier Days, and I talked to, I believe his name's Stan Gordon, the UFO Bigfoot Arthur, and I told him about my experience. And, he also admitted that the area that I am from is a hotbed for paranormal activity.
Wow.
So, years have gone by. I try to, bring logic to it, but I know what I've seen. I've seen fangs. I've seen venom. I know that I touched it when I came up the stairs. So we have sight. We have, a physical touch. And I know what I heard. So I can't even talk myself out of seeing or hearing or feeling what happened that night. It was very scary. And since then, I haven't had any more encounters with it or any other, my dogs haven't been growling. So I don't know why it was here then and then it took off or if it's going to come back. But it was very, it's a very crazy experience for me.
Did you go back in the daylight to see if you could see anything that
I did.
tracks or anything like that?
I did. The neighbors had the pine tree, so I was looking to see if any of the pine needles or anything on the ground looked disturbed. And I couldn't see any disturbance. Now, what the neighbor did do was he did cut back some of the pine trees for me. So there was more of a, I could see, and that nothing was growing, that would shelter anything. If something came back, there would be no hiding spots for anything.
Yeah. Well, Ghoul World Order writes, has anybody else seen it since that night? Has anybody else reported seeing anything like that since that night?
Not that I know of, no.
I wonder if that scared it off.
I have no clue, but I believe that my dogs were growling at it or something, just because, it was quite clockwork every night. 8 o'clock at night, the dogs innately seen something and would growl. And, these are, if it was anything else, I think that they would have been scared of my type of dogs. They would have, it would have been chased away. But this thing, no. I think it was waiting for me. it for me? I don't know. But you always had, for like that period of time, there was always a sense of feeling like something was watching you. You know, people would come to my house and they would be scared to come onto my property at night. I had men telling me, I feel like somebody's watching me when I come onto your property. It's very eerie. It was a very eerie feeling around that time.
And how long ago was this?
That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
And Ava writes how many times you've seen it. You've seen it just a one time, right?
Just that one time. And all I seen that night of it was these prehistoric-looking brown fangs. They were very big. There was not like anything else I've ever seen. They looked to be very, very old fangs. You know, they were dark, they were dirty, they were huge. Mm-hmm. Then the amount of venom coming out of its mouth was crazy.
Adam writes, Chupacabra sightings in Pennsylvania. There have been reports, believe it or not, and then he provides a link in the chat column as well.
I think I have added my info to that before, because I have tried to see if anyone else in Pennsylvania, you know, because from when I researched on it, you know, it's not an animal necessarily that's seen often in our area, more so Texas and other places.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it is? What do you think the Chupacabra is? You think it's just a species that hasn't been discovered yet or
No.
examined, or do you think this is interdimensional? Or I've heard that idea.
Bigfoot type of related.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have a smell, like they always say Bigfoot smells like sulfur. There was no smell in the air. I definitely don't think it's of this world because it disappeared. How did I hear it take 2 steps and break the wind? The size that this creature had to have been for me to hear the wind moving when it moves. For it to touch me on my left shoulder, but to be standing in front of me was the size of this thing. The mouth itself and the fangs itself was nothing of this world. It was very prehistoric looking in its mouth, and for it to disappear and me not to hear it or see it, I should have been able to see a shadow or hear where it went. I didn't have any of that. It was like going out of thin air. Makes me believe it's not something of this world.
What made you think Chupacabra?
Because it hissed and squealed at the same time. I don't know anything else that can hiss or squeal from what I Googled that night, except for, like I said, that demon's grandmother. Mm-hmm. They say Zozo's grandmother hisses and squeals. Now this thing hissed and squealed, and even as a human being, I've tried to squeal like a pig to try to let people know what it sounded like. I can't mock that sound. What could hiss and squeal at the same time?
That's a good question. Ghoul World Order wrote, how many feet high would you say it was? I think you said around 6 feet.
I would say about 6. I would say about 6 because I'm 5'3", and this thing was huge.
And sometimes you see pictures of it like some type of wolf or dog or something where it's on all fours. But then I've seen pictures of it on 2 legs.
It's big.
And even like you had mentioned earlier when you first started talking about sometimes they're depicted as having wings and like being able to fly, I think is what you said. So I don't know. That's really interesting. And like I said, Adam he posted a link there where you can go in and see some of the reportings that have been documented in Pennsylvania. That's interesting. You hear about Bigfoot, you hear UFOs, but this is something that you just don't hear about very often whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Did you talk to your neighbors? Was it his sister? Or?
I talked to his sister and I talked to the husband.
What did she say? Did she describe it like you did?
She was very adamant. No, she did not describe it as being as big as I seen. She described it like what you said earlier, looking like, a woofer type of a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And, but she said that it was, she described it as the El Chupacabra. The way that it was out and the fangs that it had. And her husband mentioned the word El Chupacabra, and so did, the brother. He says they've seen it. They've seen it hanging out near the sewer over by the school. It would disappear. They would come out and then disappear. So I don't know if maybe it looks one way when it wants to look one way, and, maybe as a disguise, and then when it wants to do whatever, it gets bigger. I don't know, but I know whatever I seen was not, any animal or anything that was small. The way its mouth was and how, I had to look up to see its mouth when it opened up. It was bigger than me.
Was the whole thing covered with fur, hair of some
I
type?
couldn't see eyes and I couldn't see a body.
Because sometimes it's described as being like reptilian, with scales. So that's why I was curious about that. John writes, here in New England, we have everything from the beast of Truro, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, the Gloucester Ghoul, I'm sure I'm really not saying that right, and the Dover Demon. And this is the short list. Oh, wow. Interesting place there in New England. Stay indoors. Wow. So that just, I wonder if, okay, when you say the police, they came and checked it out, correct?
Yeah, they came and checked out my property, and they said, of course, it's very dark outside, and they said, it is spooky outside where you live. You got to be careful coming to your home, and I said, yes, I know, but they didn't see it, and they were looking for the land to be disturbed, too, where I seen it standing.
I actually had a call when I was on patrol one time for a werewolf. And so I went out and checked the perimeter of the property, because I mean, I didn't know if this person was thinking that maybe it was an actual wolf or maybe a fox or something that they heard that made them think that. So you never know. I'm glad that they came out and they at least came out to look, because they could have brushed that off and said,
Right. But I was shaking like a leaf for a while after, I seen it. My whole body was shaking uncontrollably. I know what I seen, heard, and felt, and it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. Then let's see, Raymond says a shapeshifter, perhaps. Maybe that's possible.
I believe in that.
So, Ghoul World Order says, all right, I'm coming clean. I was out and about shape-shifting that night. Oh, okay. Playing some Halloween pranks, LOL. I'm just kidding. I do believe you. Team Bombay Rules says, is there a Q&A with Deanna? If you have a question, throw it out there. Raymond says, New England has some good hooch on those cold nights. Daniel says it sounds like it could possibly be alien or an interdimensional being. And then Al says maybe it was like a lost Jersey Devil. So those are all very...
Did they say, do they know if it hisses and squeals like the Jersey Devil and stuff like that? Because if you look up the noise that the El Chupacabra makes, it hisses and squeals. That's what solidified it for me, based on the drawings that I've seen of it with the fangs. And then when I found out that it hisses and squeals at the same time, and when it took those two steps and you see those drawings of the big creature, not how it looks like when it's an animal, it has very muscular legs. That's what made me go, that was that. I
don't know, Daniel, I know that you're Daniel, one of our viewers here, who's going to soon be a guest. I know you're pretty much an expert on this stuff. Have you ever heard of anything about that, about the Chupacabra? I mean, he says he's the one who said that it could possibly be an alien or an interdimensional being.
That's even scarier, right?
Yeah, it places it a lot more out of our control, if you look
Right.
at it as being one or the other of those two options. Raymond says, what did the police say when Deanna told them she saw a chupacabra?
They came and they were very nice about it. They looked around my property. You know, they didn't mock me. They didn't take it lightly. They looked around and they said, yeah, your land is spooky. Like, you have to be careful coming up there. I said, I know. You know, and I am careful when I come home because it is dark and stuff. But they didn't mock me. And I think that they felt bad or maybe didn't mock me because I was visibly shaking uncontrollably like a leaf. Like, you could have thought maybe she's seen something, you know, an animal, and really it wasn't what she, you know, thought she seen. But I was shaking. So then you got to go, maybe she did see something because she's shaking pretty bad.
Right. No, I'm glad that they did check that out, because honestly, even if, you know, whether they believed that or not, they should have come out like they did and looked around, because it could have been something that it could have been another animal that could have been dangerous on your property that needed to perhaps be reported to the game commission, or it could have been somebody messing around with you. Now from your description, it was clearly not that, but you know, I'm glad they came out to make sure that, you know, they at least explored those options there. Raymond says, or I'm sorry, Daniel says, there have been many sightings of the creature that it does make a hissing sound.
See? But this
Thank you, Daniel.
it hissed and squealed at the same time. It was crazy. It went, it squealed so loud and it was so piercing.
That would be so eerie.
I'm like, it's crazy. It was crazy. Like, why doesn't, I couldn't even understand, like, why would it hiss and squeal? You know what I mean? Like, a snake hisses, a pig squeals. Like, why would this animal have two of these distinctive noises that it makes? It was crazy. The way that it squealed couldn't be mocked by a human, because I tried to, like, talk myself down. Like, okay, maybe it's late at night and you're tired. You know, trying to calm myself down. But there was no calming myself down. I know what I see and heard and felt. It just baffling.
Wow.
And for the neighbors to have encountered it, you know, and, you know, they're you know, reliable, good, trustworthy people. For them to say, yeah, we've seen this, you know, solidifies me, you know, and for myself at least. Yeah.
Wow. That is, like I said, I've not had anybody on talk about a Chupacabra experience, so that was a very interesting one. And I'm glad that you came on here and told us your experience there. Al said something, you know, one of our viewers, he mentioned something about the Jersey Devil, and I do wonder if this is something that's maybe the same thing or related to or in that category. You know, and I'm sure somebody has been thinking that, other than, you know, I saw Al write that, and I was thinking that earlier myself. It just seems like they sound like a similar type of creature, whatever it is. So, I don't know, but Deanna, thank you so much. Any last questions? I see Raymond saying, Bombay, I'm not sure Bryan sees your tweets or your comments here. There are a couple of viewers he cannot see on YouTube. I don't know why. Bombay, if I'm missing your comments, I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't, and it's on the YouTube side. Some of those slip by, and I can't see them for whatever reason. But for those of you, Bombay, Daniel, Al, or all of you, Ava and Adam, thank you for joining in and asking the questions and making the comments that you did. And Deanna, thank you so much for coming on the show and, again, sharing your experience with your encounter with the Chupacabra.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Well, anytime, and we'll have to have you on again. I know that you were talking about some other like paranormal topics, and
yes.
That might be I'm sure those will be interesting chats as well. So you have a good night. Thank you very much. Thanks again.
All right, have a good night. Bye, guys.
You too. Bye. All right, everybody. There you have it. Thanks again for participating, and thanks for joining us tonight. Have a good night. Have a good chiller night, and we'll see you next week.
How many times do I have to tell you, just because something isn't good doesn't mean it's bad?
Okay, not sure if any of you are still there, but let's see. Raymond says, didn't Fox and Dana catch the Jersey Devil? Yeah, I think they did have an episode on the X-Files with the Jersey Devil. Ava says, very exciting, thank you. Tom says, thanks, Deanna Marie. Raymond says, later, Gators. I just like to jump back on here after the credits roll, because that's the official end, of course, of the episode. But if I want to say, if any of you had an experience, or know someone who's had an experience with something mysterious out of the norm, you're welcome to come on the show. Just like Deanna, she was watching the program last week and asked to come on and talk about her encounter, and she had brought that up to me before in the past, so I'm glad she reminded me of that. And but Ghoul World Order says, awesome encounter, Deanna. I am intrigued. Says thank you. Yeah, and Bombay, if you're still there, sorry we didn't get all your your comments. That does happen on YouTube for whatever reason. So, all right. Well, folks, thank you. And like I said, if you have anything that you'd ever want to come on and chat about, then just get in touch with me, and we'll have you on. All right, folks, have a good one. Talk to you later.